Hello and welcome to this video. Now in this video we're going to go over the best builds for League Starter as a new or existing player, solo self-found and hardcore. Now if you're a new player, I do recommend you check out the patch notes on the PoE website, go through, check different things, and also not necessarily POB, but a pathing tree, passive tree for just even if you don't want to necessarily do the build point by point, just so you can like see where all the different nodes are and everything. Obviously, it's not going to be updated with all the knowledge until release, or if they give a little bit more information before that. But it also just gives you a general. So we're doing life. Obviously, there's a lot of it, but you can see there's minion stuff, and then this one. It's quite important for minion builds to take, especially early on, because then your minion stuff will help you as well. And obviously you can switch classes and ascendancies, and you can just get a general idea of where you might want to go, even if you don't want to build a specific point by point sort of thing. Now, the general gist of a League Starter, in my opinion, is pretty much it has to be solo self-found, because you're starting with nothing. You're not guaranteed to get XYZ by the time you hit maps, or even red maps. And things to look out for: if it doesn't have you using the skill at either around level 12, 14-ish, or towards 28, give or take 5 levels, is not a League Starter. Generally, they'll have a big shiny build, but you got to be like level 75, and it pretty much says go find some other build to play until this point. Another one is a bunch of uniques that you got to use to actually make the thing work, or a specific item or specific things that make it work. Generally, that's either bait or they're trying to get you to use a third party currency thing, so stay clear of them. But we'll get into some of the builds. Now, the top one is Bone Shatter. You can either use Juggernaut, Slayer, or Chieftain. And as you can see here, I'm out of the way, yes. The Bone Shatter, the Bloodlines, because you've now got an extra ascendancy you can do. You can generally find one ascendancy throughout that you can drop for a Bloodline, depending on what the specific ones are. But it's also great for the boss of the new stuff. And Bloodlines just sounds cool, and Keeper of the Flame. Summon Skeleton of Mages, Necromancer. It pretty much, unless you want to go melee, it is pretty much the beginner friendly build. Pretty much if you're new and you don't know pretty much anything about the game or anything like that, pretty much Bone Shatter, Jug, or Summon Skeleton of Mages, Necromancer, or even Summon Skeleton and then get Mages later on, is your two choices. I would recommend ignore the rest. You can use all these 4, but if you're a brand new player, I'd recommend you choose one of these 2. Then we got the Spectral Helix, Champion or Deadeye, and then Protoclass Mine Saboteur. These are the ones you want to try to look at. Obviously, if these tickle your fancy, then you can obviously go to them, but I would recommend only if you are experienced player looking at these, because if you're new or newish, you want to choose one of these because it's just easier to understand the game without having to try to understand the build as well. Now, for hardcore, we have explosive arrow champion. Now, it's overall good. Bone Shatter Jug is up here too. Poison Concoction Pathfinder, Righteous Fire Chieftain, and Ice Nova Frostbolt's Hierophant. Now, as you can see the notes, this one's the least sort of option. It's still viable, but it's a up here is where you want to sort of be between Explosive Arrow Champion and Bone Shatter. Obviously, if you are used to hardcore and all that, then choose the skill that goes with your playstyle the most. But if you're not sure, I'd stick to the top two. And because they are the most player friendly or low investment for good returns, all that, I have broken down the Bone Shatter, which obviously I suggest Juggernaut. You can use Slayer in Duelist or Chieftain in the Marauder as well. This explains some of the pros of it. The Jug is just obviously the tankiest version. The main skills: Bone Shatter, melee fizz damage, ruthless, and faster attacks, adding Fortify or Multi-Strike, then Brutality or increased crit damage. The Intimidating Cry and Blood Rage. Blood Rage, if you're not quite aware, it does take life, so you need the regen or recoup. So do keep that in mind, that Blood Rage might not be what you want to do until you have the recoup of life or regen. Intimidating Cry and Enduring Cry is obviously war cries. They're quite powerful when you're a melee. And Enduring Cry is awesome because it's got regen and endurance charge generation. And endurance charge generation just pretty much means tankiness. And some different things you can do more damage with having more endurance charges, but that's like next level. Pretty much endurance charge means survivability. We obviously want a defensive layer. The general use is cast when damage taken, so it's not just going all the time with automation, or you're not having to push it every 2 seconds. Molten Shell or Steel Skin. Determination increases your armor because 9 times out of 10 you're going to be armor based. Determination is still quite powerful as a aura, because even though it got nerfed a couple of leagues ago, it's still quite powerful. Defiance Banner, if you're a banner liker, it is a good thing to use. Just remember, you got to drop the banner for it to actually do its stuff. So it's a playstyle that you either like or dislike. Pride and Purity elements, they're optional. The Purity elements, if you can fit it, it's a 50% reservation of your mana, but it also increases your resistances and make you ailment immune. So if you can fit it, it's usually quite nice, but it's purely optional. And Pride, it helps with taking less damage. The mobility, generally, Leap Slam or Shield Charge. Leap Slam will be more useful than Shield Charge later because you're more than likely running around with two-handed weapon, so you won't have a shield. You can also have Frostblink. It is quite uh, useful endgame to have Frostblink in the build somewhere. And Blood and Sand, so you can switch between the stances and you pick whichever stance you want. The curses. Curses can be quite powerful, especially against bosses. Vulnerability. It makes them take more physical damage. We're doing physical damage, then obviously that's just a damage boost for virtually for free. You can manual cast or you can get a ring with vulnerability on hit type thing. I suggest manual casting, but you do have the option. And as a summary, obviously armor, endurance charges, leech on hit will be quite powerful for your tankiness. And yeah, it's just pretty safe overall. Now, whether you go Jug, Slayer, or Chieftain early on, we're doing Ground Slam or Perforate. Then we switch to Sunder. And then you can choose Herald of Purity or Pride, Determination, Blood and Sand. Obviously, that's the stuff that was up there. Then we get to endgame where we're using Bone Shatter, melee fizz damage, Fortified, Ruthless. And then as we get more links, we go multi-strike, and then we add brutality or crit damage. And as it says here, armor and life. So you pretty much, your damage is coming from your two-handed weapon. So pretty much everything else you're focusing on your defense. And I'll let you read this and pause and stuff, because obviously going through will take a little bit of time. Some of the uniques you can use if you drop it as solo self-found, or if you want to buy a cheap unique. Comb's Heart, it's got 1,000 plus to life. Lion's Raw Flask, or Rathla's Coil, it can be quite expensive depending on what people are playing. Early on, as far as what you want to spend, it can be that like higher end spend wise early. So if you can get it cheap and you don't need your belt for resistances, then you can obviously go that. Then it pretty much, you got a buff from the trauma stack upgrade. And so it was good last league. It got made even better DPS wise. Okay, summon skeleton of the mages. This is what I would recommend all new players play if they don't want to be melee. Obviously, it goes through the different ones you can choose. Necromancer is the best because it is the minion based ascendancy. The general links, 4-link, we want to try to have summon skeletons, minion damage, spell echo, and pierce, adding element of focus and power. Obviously, that could be quite endgame for you. So you can add something like increased crit damage. Raise Zombie, as you can see here, purely as a meat shield to keep the enemy away from you. One or the other of these. Stone Golem, it's regen increased defenses. It's quite powerful early on. And with some of the buffs, which got a slight nerf, but still the golems are still good. It actually makes it, you can have obviously the stone golem or some other ones that help, but stone golem is the one I would recommend you grab. Or you can have the carrion golem, which adds more damage, but you can only have one golem, but it buffs your non-golem minions. And seeing as we have non-golem minions, it's a straight damage buff to those minions. Other skills you might want to use: Desecrate, Bone Offering, Convocation. Now, if you use Convocation, don't just use it all the time. Use it to bring the enemies to your minions to the enemies. So you got to have defenses enough to take a couple of hits, but you sort of like Frostblink into near the enemies, Convocate the enemies, then take on your minions, and your minions take on the enemies. Then you can stay out of damage. Or in a boss fight, you can bring the minions away from a big attack so you don't have to recast them, and they stay alive. Aura's Determination, obviously it increases armor, so it depends on what base types you're using. But obviously, being able to take physical damage is always good. Purity Element, same thing. You can use it if you can put it on. Discipline for Energy Shield, because the Energy Shield is more than likely going to be your biggest defense. And Clarity or Vitality. Clarity is mana, Vitality is life. Early on, Vitality is quite good, and Clarity helps in that mid stage where you don't quite have enough mana regen. And sometimes you can keep Clarity on just forever and use Clarity permanently. Curses, you can use Elemental Weakness, Temporal Chains, or Enfeeble. So pretty much they're slower, they do less damage, or you do more damage to them. It depends on what you want, how you want to play it, but you can pick any of the curses there. Whatever your preference is, you can choose your favorite. Mobility, we got Flash, Flame Dash, Dash, or Frostblink. More than likely you go Frostblink, but some people choose other skills. And as it says, they do all the damage, and you focus on minion gem levels, defensive auras, and getting the summoning rhythm together so you got all your minions up when you need them. Now, early on, Freezing Pulse until you get your minions going, or you can go the pretty much stock way of Rolling Magma, Flame Wall, Holy Flame Totem. So you put the Flame Wall up, you hit the magma, Rolling Magma just before the Flame Wall, it goes through, hits the enemy, and does damage. And Holy Flame Totem, it's like a decoy totem that attacks. It can be quite powerful early on, and you can do that way, or you can do Freezing Pulse. It all depends on what you want to do. Raise Zombies, Summon Raging Spirit, Summon Skeletons. Summon Skeletons you get after Brutus. Then you link it with minion damage, melee fizz damage. That's just the standard skeletons. The summon skeletons, the mages, you get from lab because it's a transfigure. You can just keep rerunning lab until you get the skill gem if you're playing solo self-found. If you're playing trade, obviously if it's cheap you can get it if you've got enough currency, but you can just keep running lab and trying to get the transfigured gem if you want. If not, then you obviously keep playing with summon skeletons. And once you get it, you swap in these links: the utility, Desecrate, Bone Offering, Convocation, Flame Dash, or Frostblink. Obviously went over the early auras. The mid is where you're trying to get all your defenses together, get your resistance together, and all that. And obviously discipline. Now, 5 link, 6 link. If we go with the gear, I'll let you read it. And pretty much, in general, minion damage, life, and resistances. Pretty much anything keep you alive, and anything that makes the minions do more damage is what you're going for. Okay, so I've showed the 2 builds that if you're a new player, you should choose one of the 2. In my opinion, showed 9 skills here, I think I have. And then obviously the hardcore viable skills, which I recommend you play the top 2. Obviously, if you're hardcore experienced, then you can obviously choose any of the 5, whatever suits your playstyle. Let me know what you think, and hopefully this helped, and I'll catch you next time in the next video. Goodbye.